Peace. This is King Noble Black Supremacy. And with this particular video, I want to talk about black people were we brought over here on slave ships, or are we indigenous to this land? I want to touch on that today because I feel like it's been coming up a lot. First, I would like to ask people who say that we're indigenous to this land, why would they want to give up all of the evidence of the great work that we've done in Africa, the civilization building, the amazing work, architecture, the pyramids of Egypt, Kemet, Nubia, the advanced and very civilized places in Timbuktu. Why would we give that up to just say that we was just here in America? What is there in America that bears witness to the greatness of the melanated man and woman than the great work that we have done in Africa, specifically Egypt, that is yet to be surpassed by man with all of his technology and all of his inventions? He's yet to surpass the great work that we have done in Egypt. He cannot rebuild a pyramid, nor can he tell us how it was built. And we're going to throw that away just to say that we were already over here. There's nothing over here in America that bears witness to our creativity or to the ingenuity of our ancestors. There's nothing built, no structures, no monuments that bears witness to our greatness like that in Egypt. So why we would throw that away just to say we were already over here beats the hell out of me, especially when you see statues that look like us with big noses and big lips. They look just like we do. So why would we throw that away to say we were already over here, when it is a historical fact, anthropological fact, an archaeological fact that all civilization began in Africa? So even if we migrated over here, we know that essentially we came from there because all humanity has come from there, no matter where they're at on the earth. They all have come from Africa. So we know that we come from there. Statues look like us. A large majority of the population of the world is in Africa. Only 7% of the population is in America. Most of the world, a large percentage of the world, is African. So it wouldn't be crazy to acknowledge that we came from there. Now, whether we were brought here on slave ships, that could be argued. Obviously, people are making that argument, but that we came from Africa, to me, there's no argument there. And why we would want to give up our legacy in Africa just to say we were over here makes no sense. Makes no sense to me at all. Let's deal with the issue of slave ships. Well, there's definitely slave ports. People say they can't find any remnants of slave ships. There's slave ports. If you go to Key West, Florida, not too far from the AIDS Memorial, there is a slave port on the beach that you can actually go in and see. It's like a museum. It's still there. That's in Key West, Florida. And then you have Ghana. We know that there's a slave port, a place from where they have taken the slaves from in Ghana. This is clear. It is there. The evidence is there. And then you also have what you call the so-called Native Americans have a testament of seeing slave ships and the colonizers, big ships, coming upon their land. These are slave narratives. I'm sorry, Native American narratives. That they saw ships. They saw the colonizers come, the Native Americans, the so-called Native Americans. So clearly there was some slavery. Then I would have to ask people, well, if we was already here in America, what language was we speaking? What language did we speak if we was already over here in indigenous? It couldn't have been English. What was we speaking? Was it an African language? What was our religion if we was already over here? Was it an African religion? But I won't go on that too long. I just want to kind of touch on that. Why would we give up our great legacy to say we were from over here? And there is some evidence that some slavery happened and that some mass dehumanization happened. But I'm gonna go into that in my that'll be my final point that I make. Second, though, climate. Why would we want to live over here in America? I mean, if you told me we were already in the Caribbean islands, maybe I could believe that. Because why wouldn't we want to live in the best part? The Earth, 196,940,000 square miles. I would think the black man would preserve the best part of it for himself. I don't think the wilderness of North America is the best part. It gets cold. Look at the climate. It gets cold everywhere. It even gets a little bit of cold in Florida. It gets a little bit cold in even California on the West Coast. It still gets cool a little bit. And then you have places where it's completely warm all year round. On certain islands, certain places in Africa, the weather's it's just magnificent. Why would we want to live over here and be stuck over here in this weather? Why wouldn't we travel? Even if we say we was from here, say we originated here, why would we travel to better weather and better climates? I mean, if we're so knowledgeable and so advanced as a people, every people is going to want to travel, going to want to move out and see the world and see the planet. And I think we would have saw that there's some places better than that, and I don't think it would be any reason we have stayed here. And if we was from Africa and we experienced this, I'm sure we would want to go back home at a certain period of time after experiencing the dramatic difference in climate. So weather is another factor, which is why would we want to live here and stay over here and be here when the weather is so much better in so many other places. So weather to me is another reason that we are a warm-blooded people that needs vitamin D. We need the sunlight. We're melanated people. So why would we be over here in wilderness North America? Why would we be indigenous, consider ourselves indigenous to the wilderness of North America? Now I think we're indigenous everywhere because we are the original people of the earth. So we're indigenous to the planet. I like to make that clear, that I don't think we're limited to being anywhere. To have to say we're indigenous to America or from Africa, I think that's a construct that we kind of play into to try to etch us out some nationality or some territory and try to geographically create some type of identity. But we're from everywhere. We're indigenous to this entire planet. But I think we would be on the best part. I really do. But maybe South America. Maybe we would be there because the weather's better. North America, I don't see it. Second of all, you got to see the whole idea of America is an illusion, for one. South America and North America is all America. If people truly want to make America great again, that would include South America. That would include Brazil and Costa Rica, and all that would be considered America. So this is not, North America is just not America. We could travel across what wouldn't have been a border at the time like it wasn't nothing. So to stay here and even not, so to say that we were from South America, okay, maybe. Just off weather alone. I'm not talking about the evidence of slave ships and are we the true so-called Native Americans. I'm just talking about just off climate alone. South America sounds better. Why North America? So what's the significance in claiming ourselves to be indigenous in North America? Do we love America that much? Do we love this colonial region so much? Do we love imperialism that much where we have to claim this as where we are from? Or have we limited ourselves by not seeing ourselves from a diasporic perspective, not seeing ourselves from a global perspective? Have we limited ourselves to this place? Are we so attached to this? The world is ours, the globe is ours. That's my ultimate point. But I could say, yeah, we have some history here. There's some value here. We have some connection to the land. We're somewhat native. There's some nativity here. But to give up my African legacy for this wilderness, no, I wouldn't do it. To give up the Nile Valley civilization for this, I couldn't do it. You can do that if you want, but I wouldn't do it. But let me give you my final reason of why. Well, it wouldn't be my final reason. It doesn't really matter whether we were indigenous to this land or whether we're from Africa. What matters is that we're being oppressed by Europeans, by white supremacists, by a system they set up, and also by everyone who believes and follow it, by many different nationalities and cultural identities. We're being oppressed by them. It's a melting pot of oppressors now that are systematically organized. So it doesn't really matter where you came from, whether you came from Africa or whether you was already over here. The white man still has his foot up your ass. And even if you was indigenous, that wouldn't give you any more rights or privileges, because we see the so-called Native Americans don't even have their rights. They're marginalized and they are quarantined to Native American Indian reservations and landlocked and fighting over their land rights and their right of religion and culture and way of life. They're fighting right now, the Native Americans, well, the so-called Native Americans. So what would us being indigenous to this land grant us? What would it give us? Why? Because we don't want to identify with our African brothers and sisters. We think we're someone or something different from our African brothers and sisters in Africa. Because the white man has told us that they're swinging in trees in the jungle and that they're backwards. So we don't want to identify with them. We want to believe ourselves to be something different because we might be a little mixed in with this devil genetically and culturally. We think we're better than our brothers and sisters in Africa and don't want to connect with our African people diasporically. So we want to say we're from over here. We love over here that much. We go with a geographical identity more than a genetic identity. The point I'm making is that it wouldn't matter if you was from Africa or here. You're still being oppressed the same. Whatever you see yourself. Whether you are indigenous over here or whether you're from Africa, that white man still sees you in a very condescending manner, in a very degrading manner. And you're being dehumanized based on the color of your skin, not your geographical origin, the color of your skin, the texture of your hair, the size of your nose and lips. You're being dehumanized. And that's what's on the table right now, and that's what's important. And being indigenous is not gonna give you anything extra. You're still gonna have to fight. You're still gonna have to stand up against this enemy. And you're gonna have to claim the earth. And you're gonna have to stand up wherever you are just based on being who you are at the end of the day. That's a fact. not based on geographical rights, not based upon nationality or ethnicity, just based on human rights. You're going to have to stand up, period. And none of these other things are helping your argument. Because if you was from Africa or from here, neither one of them would justify you being dehumanized. You deserve human rights whether you're indigenous here or whether you're African. It doesn't really matter. That's what matters is, are you going to stand up and fight? That's what matters. So don't get distracted. Don't get lost in the argument of whether you're from Africa or whether you're an indigenous. Don't matter. The real question is, how are we going to get up out of this oppression? How are we going to get this white man off our ass, check him, and put him in his place? How are we going to destroy white supremacy? That's the real and only question. Don't forget that. So people are playing games to sell books, to sell lectures. They playing games with you. Have you thinking whether you indigenous or whether you African. Don't really fucking matter. These same people know that at one point in time, all of this was one body, one mass body. This is before the tectonic plates shift, when this was Pangea. This was all one body of land, and we were all on it. And we were African. We were melanated. Throw out the word African. That's just a word. That's a construct. That's a label. But we were melanated. And our GPS started in Africa and was guided anywhere else that we wanted to go and want to travel and want to see and want to survey. Because we are the original navigators. That's a fact. The original navigators. We navigated the whole earth, the whole globe. It's all ours. Don't get distracted. Don't get distracted. And we must all unify as melanated people to get the colonizer, to get this European off our back, the physical embodiment of it, and the mental and spiritual aspects of it within our own selves, to liberate our minds and to liberate our bodies. This is King Noble Black Supremacy. Join my website, www.kingnobleBlackSupremacy.com. Join now, it's free. Donate and don't hate.